A few weeks ago, I made a video on my experience with creating a FreeNAS home storage server. For that project, Cooler Master South Africa graciously supplied me with one of their Silencio 452 mid-tower chassis. I asked Cooler Master for one of their Silencio series cases because I had anticipated having the system in my office running 24/7 and I wanted as little ambient noise from the system as possible. So, did the Silencio 452 live up to my expectations? The Silencio 452 has a rather unassuming aesthetic, with a flat black exterior with only a single Cooler Master logo on the front panel. Staying on the exterior, on the right side of the front panel, there's a power button and a reset switch, as well as a hard drive indicator light. On the top of the system, there's a dual USB 3.0 port, a single USB 2 port, an SD card reader, and then headphones out and microphone in. On the rear, there's the grille for the 120mm included exhaust fan, standard I/O slot for the motherboard, and then 7 expansion slots. The front panel door swings open to reveal two 5¼ drive bays and a full-length dust filter for the front air intake setup. Here, Cooler Master has included another 120mm fan, but this space is large enough to accommodate up to a 240mm radiator as well. The interior of the case has enough space for either a micro ATX or full ATX motherboard, up to 6 3.5-inch drives in the available slots on the side. It can also natively house two 2.5-inch drives if you remove the bottom hard drive cage. The installation of the system is fairly simple, as the case comes with the motherboard standoffs already pre-installed. There's also room for a full ATX power supply on the bottom of the case with an included dust filter on the bottom there as well. On the backside of the chassis, there's plenty of spots for cable management with 7 anchor points, although the depth was a little bit shallow, making it difficult for routing the 20+ 4-pin cable. But regardless, the included zip ties that Cooler Master includes with the chassis and cable routing holes allow for a fairly clean experience, especially since this is more of a low-key chassis. Now, moving on to what makes this case part of Cooler Master's Silencio series, the noise dampening material on the front door as well as the side panels of the chassis. It's relatively thin but fairly effective, with the case fully open and both fans running at their default fan profile, the system measured in at about 45 to 50 decibels depending on where I place the sound meter. However, with the system closed up, the system has a barely audible 42 decibels at the front of the system, with the loudest section measuring in at 45 decibels at the rear since there's no sound dampening material back there. Overall, the chassis does what it's supposed to do, provide plenty of storage space with a clean aesthetic and keep the noise profile of your system low. And it does all of this at the typical price of a standard ATX case while having the added benefit of its noise reduction. It also had an advantage over its nearest competitor in terms of price, that is, the Corsair Carbide 100R Silent Edition, in that it has a couple of extra drive bay slots and the added ease of the front panel door, which allows easier access to your fans or radiator. Overall, the Silencio 452 is a great option for users who want a lower noise profile from their system on a smaller budget. Its unassuming form and volume has been a great boon for my FreeNAS system since it's constantly running on the shelf just above my desk. It's easy just to forget that it exists there entirely when I'm not paying active attention to the system, which is exactly what I wanted from the case, so it definitely meets my expectations and then some. So that wraps it up for this review on the Cooler Master Silencio 452 mid-tower case. Big thanks again to Cooler Master South Africa for sponsoring the chassis for my FreeNAS project, which you can check out that video right here. Like this video if you found it helpful, dislike it if you disagree with my conclusions. You can subscribe to stay up to date on all of my tech-related content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.